welcome back to another episode on Anxiety Doesn't Own Me podcast. My name is Emmanuel Isaacson, and I'm an anxiety coach who helps people to overcome and heal their anxiety naturally. On today's episode, what I'm going to be talking about is how to deal with our anxiety whenever we're flying. How do we overcome this fear of flying? I remember whenever I used to be terrified of flying, I would avoid it as much as possible. And if I had to go on the plane, if I had to fly the entire time before the flight, and even, of course, during the flight, I would dread it and I would experience such high anxiety. And the entire time I would be suffering until I would land, and then I had to get back on the plane to go back home, which, again, it wasn't a pleasant experience. And what inspired me to talk about this, actually, was one of my clients. She struggles with anxiety whenever she flies. She doesn't like it. So I said, you know what? Let me make an episode about it so that her and other people can benefit in how to overcome how I overcame my fear of flying. And now I actually enjoy flying. I actually get on the plane where I know I've spoke about this a few times, where I remember a few years ago when I went with my sister, we went to Florida, and then we were flying back, and on the way back, it was crazy turbulence. The entire plane was shaking the entire time. They had to cancel the snack service, the food service, and I remember just looking around, and people were freaking out, which makes sense. Listen, it's turbulence, and it's kind of scary, but I know. I remember I spoke to a pilot about this. He said that turbulence can never bring down a plane. He says it's impossible, never has, and never will happen. So that's one thing that gave me some sort of, security in feeling much better, that turbulence cannot be the cause of a plane crash. But I remember just sitting there, and the entire time while I was there, I wasn't afraid. And I remember looking at my sister and my niece and nephew, and they were scared. And I told them, like, you know what? This is another ride, like in Disney, like when we were in Disney. This is just another ride. We're going up and down. And they started to laugh about it, like, yeah, it seems that way. And the entire time, guys, I wasn't nervous one bit. I was actually enjoying going up and down, the turbulence and everything like that. And I was just sitting there calmly. And I know other people were freaking out. I should have gotten on the mic, honestly, and explained this to people, that turbulence can never take down a plane, or just look at it in a positive way of like it being another ride on Disney. So how did I get to that point? How did I get to the point of being calm on a plane? Well, first things first, in general, we have to think more positively about things in general. So if we have different anxieties in our life, instead of thinking in a negative way about the future events, because when we're on a plane, we're thinking about a future event happening in a negative way, aka the plane can crash, or something can happen midair, or so many different possibilities of all these negative thoughts isn't really helping us. And what we need to do is start to train ourselves before the flight, or even with other things, to think more positively about the situation and how things are actually going to go. Of course, again, this is not going to take it away 100%, but it's definitely going to help you to feel much calmer, because wherever our focus goes, that's where our energy is going to go. So if we're focusing on something negative, we're going to feel negative. If we're focusing on something scary, we're going to be scared. If you're focusing on the plane going to crash, you're going to focus on that. That's where your brain is going to go, and that's where your thoughts are going to go, and your emotions are going to feel that way, and you're going to start experiencing anxiety. So what we need to do is change our focus onto something else. Now, I know the anxiety is going to come back stronger, and it's going to come back and tell you, but what if it actually does happen? How do you know 100%? So, of course, we don't know, but we can look at statistics, and statistically speaking, 99.4% of all flights, they land at the destination and nothing actually happens. It's that 0.6% that we are focusing on, which is so small. There are thousands and thousands of flights every single day landing and taking off, and everything is fine. There is no issues whatsoever. But because it's a scary situation, we're focusing on that 0.6%. And because we don't have any control over the matter, we don't have the control over this situation. But what we could do is tell ourselves, okay, but you know what? Majority of the flights, 99.6% of the flights, take off and land. Thousands of flights every single day take off and land, and there's no issues. I've been on a plane before. I had family members on the plane before, friends, people in general on flights, pilots who make a living, flight attendants who make a living doing this. This is their job, and nothing happens to them. So it's safe to say that flying is a safe way. Now, of course, the anxiety is still not going to be satisfied with that. And if it is, great. But if it's not, we can acknowledge the anxiety and say, hey, anxiety, what's going on? Talk to the anxiety. What is going on? What are you afraid about? What are you scared about? It's going to answer you back. I'm scared we're going to have a plane crash and we're going to die. It's like, you know what? I hear you. I definitely understand that you're scared about that. And you know what? It makes sense. But I just want to let you know you have nothing to worry about. Flying is a safe thing. There's nothing wrong with flying. And I'm going to be here to protect you, because we have to understand the anxiety is a little child within us. It's the emotional part of us that is afraid, and it needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be validated, and we need to give it comfort. That's what we want to give the anxiety. Say, you know what? It's okay to feel this way. I am here for you, just like we do with a child. Same thing we have to do with our anxiety as well. And talk to the anxiety. Say, you know what? Everything is going to be okay. I'm going to be here. I'm going to protect you. Another thing that we can do is tell the anxiety, because as we see, anxiety is there to protect us from danger. So we're perceiving the airplane as a dangerous place. We're perceiving it as a dangerous thing. It's going to crash. There's malfunctions and this and that and all these different things that can happen. So we are right away thinking that the airplane is not safe. So our anxiety kicks in order to protect us. So it makes sense. It makes sense for us to feel that way whenever we are flying in order to protect us. So if we were in actual danger, that's the way we are going to feel. That's what we are going to do. We're going to freak out. We're going to run away. We're going to try to avoid the situation, or we're going to try to fight the situation because we perceive that place as being a dangerous thing. So what we need to do is tell ourselves that the plane is a safe place. Just saying those words, the plane is a safe place. I have control over the anxiety. Saying the thing over and over again. Good things are going to happen over here. We're going to have a great time. Predicting the future in a positive way, right? Like we said before. But saying to ourselves over and over and over again that the airplane, that the plane, the flight, and everything is a safe thing. It's safe to be here. We are safe. Only good things are going to happen to us. Talking back to the anxiety after we acknowledge the anxiety and say, hey, listen, I understand where you're coming from. I definitely understand the concerns that you have, but the airplane is a safe place. Now, what that does in the back end, it reprograms the amygdala. It's, again, you have to understand that you are in control over here. So you're reprogramming the amygdala to tell the amygdala, like, hey, you have nothing to worry about over here. Everything is okay. And once that happens, the amygdala is not going to send out a signal to the sympathetic nervous system to activate the fight and fight mode, because it doesn't perceive. You're basically manipulating and tricking the amygdala into believing that, hey, we are safe. And the truth is, guys, you are safe. Flying is the safest way to travel. The only problem is that we don't have control of it, and it's up in the sky. That's what we're afraid about. But it's literally the safest way to travel, and the fastest way to travel, of course. When we want to go to one place to another, it's really quick. So we want to tell the amygdala and tell it, like, hey, we are safe. The plane is safe. The flight is safe. Taking off, landing is safe. We are in a safe place. Now, we could also look at the positives of flying. Positive things about flying is what? We can get there faster. We can go to places whenever we're stuck here in the wintertime, like in New York. We can go someplace that's warm, someplace that's nice. We can look at such a beautiful view whenever we're up there that we have never seen before. We have never seen views like that before in so many years. Since the airplane, nobody's ever been up there, right? Which is an amazing invention in itself. It's such an amazing thing to be able to see the sunset and the sunrise through and whenever you're flying. It's an amazing scene that you would never experience. So that's another positive thing. Whenever you look down, everything looks so small, which is pretty cool. We have this perspective all of a sudden, like, hey, like up here, you can see things so clearly. But whenever we're down here, things just seem like they're old. It's like so much going on. And on top of that, up there is such a peaceful experience. Now, I know you might say, but Emmanuel, I'm experiencing anxiety, so it's not really peaceful. But take away the anxiety. If you didn't have anxiety, how peaceful, when you look out the window, how peaceful it is up there. It really is. You're above the clouds. There's no weather. It's so peaceful. It's amazing to be able to experience that. So we want to look at some things that are positive, and you can add your own positive things about flying. Whatever it is that you're gonna feel good with it. And that's what I did with the turbulence. And you can also do research. You can do some research and ask, Google can turbulence take down a plane? And you'll see it can never take down a plane. It will take a lot to take down a plane. Like in the Army, right? Like the fighter jets. They're impossible with the way they maneuver. It's impossible to take down, right? It's impossible. So the plane is designed to maneuver and to be used in a way that it won't do anything to it. It's just our fear, guys. That's another thing. You see, that's another thing we have to be aware about. We have to be aware of our thoughts. We are living in our own reality. We are living in our thoughts, and our thoughts is what's creating the reality. But the truth is that you are just flying on the plane, and we're bringing in the meaning. That means I may crash. No, it doesn't mean. It means that you are literally on a plane, flying in the air, and landing at your destination. That's what it means. We bring this negative meaning of like, that's what's going to happen. But there is no truth to it. But we're living in our mind. We are creating that in our own reality, that's what's actually happening. But that's what's going to happen. And our thoughts create emotion, and our emotions create the symptoms, right? Or create our actions of how we're going to react to the situation. And we don't feel good. So if we can think more positively and be in a more positive environment, in a positive place, we will feel much calmer inside. You see, it's all the power of our mind. It's the power of the thought that we have that can change the way we feel and how we're going to live our lives. And ask yourself, how much has your anxiety stopped you from doing things that you did want to do? I know I wanted to go places and do things, and my anxiety stopped me for a very long time. It stopped me. The entire flight, I hated it. I dreaded it. Just being on the plane, it was so annoying. It literally was annoying to be on the plane and just dreading it. It's not a comfortable experience. I said to myself, okay, I need to make a change. I need to make a change because I want to go places, do things, and this is stopping me. And how long do I have to live in this world? 80, 90, 100 years? So I'm going to let that stop me? So I'm going to try to do things to be able to enjoy my life, to be able to do things. So if I want to go on vacation, I'm going to be able to go on vacation. Or I want to go visit a family member, I'm going to go visit a family. I'm not going to let that stop me just because of that 0.6%, which it literally is. It's crazy how small the percentage is. But our mind, you realize how strong our mind is and how it manipulates us and how it tricks us into believing that that's actually going to happen. Now, of course, we have to be aware of that and tell ourselves, okay, I need to be in reality right now. What's going on around me? So we got to focus what's going on around us to get ourselves out of our mind. We can do the grounding technique. We can do some focus exercise. We can do some breathing exercise in order to get ourselves from our mind into what's going on in reality, what's going on around us, instead of focusing on our imagination of what may happen. And that's what's really freaking us out. And that's what we need to control. So whenever we get to that place, is we need to maneuver out of it and picture, instead of picturing the plane crashing, we can picture it flying normally and just flying to our destination and landing safely. That's what we should start printing in our brain and focusing and imagining that instead of the plane crashing and what can happen afterwards. Start focusing and changing that reality, if we're going to be in our mind, to more of a positive thing where we're picturing ourselves just flying and everything is safe and we're just landing in our destination and enjoying ourselves. That way we'll feel much better. But again, if you are stuck in your mind and you're having a hard time, try to get yourself out of your mind and into what's going on around you and start focusing what's happening around you in order to get out of your mind so that you can start feeling much better. But these are just some things that you guys can implement to help you to overcome your fear of flying. And this is something that I have done in general with anxiety, and I've applied this with everything that I feel anxious with in order to start feeling much better. And the number one thing that helped me is being more positive about the situation and actually, instead of dreading it, start enjoying the experience of flying and enjoy my entire flight, where I can go places and do things. And I thought about what my why was. What's the why of why I want to overcome this, to be able to push me and motivate me to overcome this fear. If you did like this episode, please click the like button and leave a 5-star review. The reason why I ask is because this way we're able to reach more people. And the more people that we can actually reach, the more people that we can actually help. Because my mission in this world, my purpose, is to help people to overcome and heal their anxiety naturally and show them that it's possible to overcome. Thank you guys. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.